Twitter owner Elon Musk promised to expose how the company suppressed free speech by blocking the New York Post story about Hunter Biden in the run-up to the 2020 election. The so-called Twitter files were released on Friday, but failed to show any evidence that Democrats or the government pressured Twitter into suppressing the stories.
I want to talk about Hunter Biden's laptop and how Elon Musk has released documents proving that the government had nothing to do with the Twitter suppression. It was a corporate decision. Twitter did that. But that's not really what this video is about.
Former President Donald Trump wrote on his social media platform this weekend, he says, quote, "Do you throw the presidential election results of 2020 out and declare the rightful winner, or do you have a new election? A massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution," unquote.
I want to talk about how Donald Trump proved this week that everything I've been saying about him is true. He is a fucking Nazi. We know that because he called for the Constitution to be overturned.
Democrats were quick to condemn the remarks. The White House released the following statement: "The American Constitution is a sacrosanct document that for over 200 years has guaranteed that freedom and the rule of law prevail in our great country. The Constitution brings the American people together regardless of party, and elected leaders swear to uphold it. It's the ultimate monument to all of the Americans who have given their lives to defeat self-serving despots and abused their power and trampled on fundamental rights. Attacking the Constitution and all it stands for is anathema to the soul of our nation and should be universally condemned. You can not only love America when you win."
For years, I've been hearing this deal, I didn't really see the tweet, or, I disagree with the statement, but the policies are solid. We love the policies, but we disagree with the man. That is bullshit, cop-out, wussy crap.
Republican Party's presidential nomination in 2024 called for the Constitution to be terminated after expressing support for the January 6th insurrectionists. And now, the Republican Party has finally come out in full force to condemn Trump and oust him from the party. And, what's that? They haven't condemned him? Why not? Oh, for all the usual reasons? Well, that's fun.
And anyone who doesn't condemn this absolutely and says that it's absolutely disqualifying, that Donald Trump can never, ever run even to be president, well, that's the same as condoning it.
With the former president calling to throw aside the Constitution, not a single conservative can legitimately support him, and not a single supporter can be called a conservative. This is insane. Trump hates the Constitution. He then called on top Republican House members Kevin McCarthy, Elise Stefanik, and Jim Jordan to respond.
He is on the side of the angels.
I don't think it's a good platform for a presidential campaign to say that we should just set the Constitution aside. And I feel like we've seen this, I think, digression continue ever since January 6th. And, candidly, as far as putting the Constitution aside, I candidly think that's what he asked the vice president to do 2 years ago when rioters were attacking the Capitol, and he asked the vice president to overturn the election results. And so I think, unfortunately, this has been a consistent trend.
Obviously. He has been against the Constitution for many, many, many moons, y'all. And it wasn't just January 6th. It was every single time he usurped democracy. Which, if you recall, he was impeached the first time for that very thing.
Should the standard bearer for the Republican Party, the front runner for the nomination for the presidency for your party in 2024, say this?
Well, I first of all, I vehemently disagree with the statement that Trump has made.
He vehemently disagrees. What a pansy.
There is a political process that has to go forward before anybody
Constitutional conservatives are pretty clear about where they value the Constitution.
Right, exactly. But
is there any scenario with suspending the Constitution?
You do get to pick the questions, but I do get to pick my answer.
I know. I'm trying to get you to answer the question I'm asking.
There is a political process that has to go forward before anybody's a front runner or anybody is even the candidate for the party. And
do you condemn him saying something like this?
Absolutely. And I believe, answering your question, that people certainly are going to take into consideration a statement like this as they evaluate a candidate.
Mike Turner is a weenie. And so are all the other Republicans who try to skirt around the issue. But look inside of his statement. What he means is that he'll absolutely support Donald Trump if that's what it takes to get Republicans power.
So you have to evaluate racism. You have to evaluate anti-Semitism, core values of our country. You have to evaluate when they are tromped on. And you have to evaluate terminating the Constitution. There is no Republican, there is no one who can call themselves a conservative. Quite frankly, there's no one who can call themselves an American and still support Donald Trump. It's pretty simple.
Anyone who supports him is a traitor. A lot of the people who have always supported him have always been traitors. But now, if you still support him, you're a traitor.
Can you support a candidate in 2024 who's for suspending the Constitution?
Well, again, it's early. I think there's going to be a lot of people in the primary. I think at the end of the day, you will say whoever the Republicans end up pick, I'll fall in behind because that's...
Even if it's Donald Trump and he's called for suspending the Constitution?
Well, again, I think it's going to be a big field. I don't think Donald Trump's going to clear out the field like he did in 2016.
That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking you if he's the nominee, will you support him?
I will support whoever the Republican nominee is.
And Republicans, you know this, you're in a corner. He's put you in there. You are squished into that corner. The question is, are you going to man up and step out? Donald Trump has now told us, Charlie Sykes, that he's a traitor to the U.S. Constitution. He's a traitor to America, okay, in his words. I don't think there's any other way to put it. But people like Kevin McCarthy and Jim Jordan and Elise Stefanik and other leaders in this party who can't claim to actually, I mean, even Mike Pence can't really come close to saying.
As for Kevin McCarthy, Elise Stefanik, and Jim Jordan, up to now, I'm willing to accept that they've just been criminally negligent. These are all people who took an oath to defend the Constitution. As did Trump. As did I when I served. And anybody who violates that oath, by definition, is a traitor. Anybody who supports someone who violates that oath is a traitor, according to the oath.
He put it in writing. This is the extraordinary. I mean, I feel like we're in some sort of an insane alternative reality simulation here. I mean, in the last 2 weeks, you've had Donald Trump, pledge solidarity for the January 6th rioters. He has dinner with an actual neo-Nazi and a notorious anti-Semite who is a fan of Adolf Hitler. And then he calls for terminating all the laws, including the articles of the Constitution. And the Republican Party, the fact that they cannot draw the line here is really extraordinary, although perhaps not new.
Maya Angelou once said that if someone tells you who they are, you should believe them the first time.
The former president of the United States says, seditious conspiracy, hold my beer. I'm actually going to put out a call to terminate the Constitution so that I can be restored.
Last week, a man was convicted of seditious conspiracy. Literally, that he had grouped with others to overthrow the government. And just 4 days later, Donald Trump called for the Constitution to be thrown out, including its articles. He was very specific. By definition, he's a traitor.
He's making complete fools of you and everything you stand for and everything you've ever worked for in your life. But he's a danger to our country. These are dangerous statements. He is telling you what he wants to do. Believe him.
I guess now we know why all y'all want to talk about is Hunter Biden's laptop. You see, Hunter Biden's laptop is much better fodder for Fox News than the fact that the person they've been supporting for the last 7 years turns out to want to overthrow the government, and he proved it this week. Y'all take it easy. I'm Zachariah. Oh, by the way, they just subpoenaed the Murdochs in the Dominion lawsuit. Things are tough for Fox right now, y'all. Y'all take it easy.
Couple statement. You'd support a candidate who's come out for suspending the Constitution?
Well, you know, he says a lot of things.
But that's an extraordinary statement. You can't come out against someone who's for suspending the Constitution?
Well, first off, he has no ability to suspend the Constitution. Secondly,
but he says he's for it.
Well, you know, he says a lot of things that, but that doesn't mean that it's ever going to happen.
Well, that's reassuring. Trump wants to terminate the Constitution, but he can't, so don't worry about it.